housing for a start. Every mate of mine, like I was talking to a couple last night after one of my shows, and they're like, no, we're doing well. My girlfriend's doing well. I'm doing well. We've got a tiny plot of land, 45 minutes, like a house, 45 minutes out of Melbourne, and we needed our parents' help. People who vote unthinkingly, you're probably hurting yourself directly, measurably. So just make sure that let's first vote for your own best interest. Then potentially have a conversation about, well, what about my kids?
The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash Etchman from Tash Invest and Anna Christina from Perla. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you.
Welcome to the Get Rich Slow Club podcast,
where we take you from beginner to confident investor,
where we can teach you everything you need to know about investing.
So come get rich slow with us.
Konrad, thank you so much for joining us. This
Thanks
is very
for having
exciting.
me.
Anna's a big fan.
Yay, fangirl.
What's your money win or money loss to start us off?
I think of a win for money if whatever you spend it on per happiness points. So how much happiness it buys me. And probably the most recent, when I went from a regular analog mountain bike to a electric mountain bike where I don't have to pedal up hills, happiness points, like the bike's 2 times more expensive, but my happiness points go through the roof on that. And so that's up there. And then I got an electric car recently, not filling up with petrol.
It's great.
It is like, I don't know if people understand how good it is to not be looking at looking at my little app. Oh, which one's cheaper? Going down to Costco, looking at stuff. Me never going to a petrol station, filling up for $5, just plugging it into my house.
It feels so good.
I love that as well, just for the time it saved me. Because I would always procrastinate filling up my car, being like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow morning. But then I'd sleep in and not fill it up. Yeah. But now I just plug it in at home. We've got one as well.
Oh, what do you got?
We have a Tesla.
Ooh.
It's not mine. It's my boyfriend's car, but I drive it in Melbourne.
Do you have a sticker on it?
No, because it's his car. Yeah. We're working towards it.
We're working towards it.
Good car, like still a very good car.
What do you have?
I got an MG. So like people, Chinese. Yeah, Chinese. I just did the maths. I literally my mate who's like a spreadsheet guy there are people in my life who I respect their frugality. And my mate who's a spreadsheet guy was like, MG just dropped the price of the MG4 by 10K. I've done the sums. And I did the sums. And so here's some finance. I did some very loose sums of how much my car, which is like a Mini Cooper 2009, like worth nothing, like 5-6 grand, how much that cost me in 10 years. It would cost me 40 grand. Servicing petrol, that's a small to medium amount of driving. And then MG4, 35 grand, 10-year warranty, $5 to fill up, servicing once every 2 years. Oh, Chinese, bit of a risk, we're not sure, 10-year warranty. I'm like, all right, done. And so far, not spending, $80, $90 a fortnight on petrol.
Those happiness points.
Points through the roof.
Do you give them a rating? Is it like that's 10 happiness points, or it's just like that's a lot?
You just know.
Yeah.
You just know. You're like, I know that was expensive, but man, that was like the e-bike is expensive, but mate, not pedaling up those hills and just descending.
Happiness points are so important.
Worth every penny.
King size bed, happiness points, AirPods, happiness points. I can just name happiness points.
You know what's worth it when you have it.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. I am so excited to talk about Punters Politics, but first I'd love to hear about kind of your childhood and what money was like for you growing up.
I think my parents were my dad's an immigrant from Poland, but came when he was younger. And I feel like my mom comes from like housing commission. And I feel like they come from the world, like most boomers come from the world of not having much stuff. But then given the great economy Australia had when the boomers were booming and the free education, all that stuff, they kind of, the classic example of a boomer, work hard, save, not waste money. So I think we were never stressed for money. It was never like, oh no, can't. But I would hear a lot, we can't afford that. But I never heard it like, oh no, we're poor. It was like, that's not worth it. We can do it at a cheaper way. We'll take like, I kind of could see them doing the sums of like, what's a better way of spending it and what's a not better way of spending it. So I could always see them weighing up going, I mean, we could have it if we really want it.
But is it happiness points?
But is it kind of worth it, happiness? Is it, you know, a necessity? And a lot of the things essentially were just cut out necessities, which I think ingrained in me to the point where when I like wanted to travel and do all this sort of stuff, you know, it's just, I could have a hotel room for $150, or I could sleep on the airport floor and travel for another week in Bali, you know? And so that trade-off was always, I guess, present for me, working out the opportunity cost of spending money. Not that I never had heaps of it, never went without, but knew what it felt like for money to be used on this instead of this.
Yeah, I kind of viewed it the same way as well. It's very like practical. It's like not an emotional thing, but it's like, why would I do that if I can do this instead? That doesn't make sense. There's no like impulse there.
Yeah. And so I don't know if my parents openly spoke about money.
But they made the comments, I guess.
But I think it was always like, oh, that's too expensive. We can't afford that. Or don't buy a new car. You just lose all your money.
Yeah.
And then later on, I see my dad buy a new car. I'm like, oh, what the hell?
You hypocrite.
What the hell? It blew my mind. And then I bought this MG4 and I was like, oh, but the only reason I bought a new car,
the spreadsheet,
is because I did the numbers.
Yeah.
And we're in this time, I'm telling you right now, we're in this time of China about to flood our markets with quite good EVs. Hey, we're here for it. As a consumer, transport's going to get a lot cheaper when your car runs for less. So anyway.
And BYD is looking very cool. I've seen they're doing some really fun stuff.
Yes, there's like BYD. I haven't driven a BYD, but like there's a lot of good brands coming in. I'm now watching like car reviews on YouTube and I'm like the Renault 5. If you've seen that, it's like a cute little Suzuki, you know, like yellow Suzuki Swift that was quite popular. They've kind of like Renault's got this cool little sporty looking thing. Cars are interesting again now, I think, to me, because I'm like, now I don't have engine anxiety. Oh no, how much is the service going to cost? Oh, the mechanic's going to stiff me for like, what, $600 for an oil change? What the hell? So I'm very happy to be in this world where I'm like, oh, cool, I'll service it once every 2 years, check the brake pads.
Amazing.
And yeah.
How did you even get into Punters Politics? What were you doing beforehand?
I was a teacher.
Fun.
Yeah.
Works well, transferable skills.
Transferable skills, communicating complex ideas to people who don't really want to pay attention, kind of hones your craft of trying to gain attention.
Were you the fun teacher who'd dress up to demonstrate
Hell
stuff?
no.
No?
I know it looks like I would be putting all that up, but no, I was very much like your classic teachers are overworked. They've got too much paperwork. They've got too much compliance. They have to always be doing individual learning plans. You got to have your stuff mapped out. And so I was bad on the paperwork. So you just got limited time. So you just rock up to the class and I'm like, I'll just do what I can. So I just rely on good discussion and trying to make it interesting with a few sort of games. But I was never like the teacher laminating certain cutting out resources and I just didn't have time. And I wasn't that grade teacher. I was like, the older kids, we can have a good discussion and hopefully make it interesting that way. But
what kind of teacher were you?
I taught economics, like year 10 economics and like business / whatever, and a bit of PE and a bit of whatever if I had to teach whatever. But I taught in China for a year. And that's when I first started teaching year 12 economics. And I was like, oh, I was always listening to like Freakonomics, the podcast about economics. And I realized like, lots of countries have solutions to a lot of our difficult problems. And economics at its best looks over the fence and goes, oi, they tried that. We could also try it here. We know we're not exactly the same as them, but these principles may transfer. And so that's when I started teaching economics and you realize politics is just the fight about economic theory and who gets the gains from society, essentially. So once you understand that one party believes in this economic theory of give all the money to the rich and it will trickle down to us poor peasants, then there's other guys being like, if you use the government to stimulate the economy in certain ways, can we use the government to build industry that will then have an investment in the future? It's, I think once you understand that, you can see the political divide and the economic mythology that we're being fed that's behind politics and the political parties. Yeah.
So you were teaching in China. You came back to Australia. When did you get the idea to actually start an Instagram? Did you start on Instagram first? Was that
Yeah, Instagram first. I was always doing like when I was traveling a little bit, making YouTube videos, like doing little podcasts on the side, and everyone's like, you should do politics, man. Like you're always talking about politics. I'm like, nah.
What were you making YouTube videos about? Like travel?
Travel, just random travel videos. I was like filming. My wife and I were traveling the world just trading. We didn't have followers, so we weren't influencers, but we were just like, my wife's a good photographer. So we were going, we'll take pictures of your hotel and give us 5 nights. And so we'd kind of go around Europe that way, which if you're not paying for accommodation goes a long way. So that kind of honed our skills of like media, video. I was like flying drone, making videos. So I could edit. I could do that sort of stuff. But I always wanted to, I don't know, move out of teaching into communication of some sort. And then everyone's telling me, you should like get into politics. And I'm like, it's too divisive. It's too tribal. It's too, and I don't know, like I'm not, you shouldn't listen to me. I'm not a economist. I'm not an expert. I haven't studied this. I'm not a professor. And what you see in the political world is a bunch of people, bunch of idiots on the internet who are talking about stuff they don't know. It's doing stuff they're not qualified. And I see that and I don't want to be a part of that. But I also see that that's who people watch because they're the people they understand. And some people talk very confidently about stuff they have no idea about. And that's called YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to feed into that. But then I was also like, well, if I'm not doing it, someone else is doing it. And they probably don't have as great of a care for what smarter people are saying.
Yeah, like it's good to have the relatable angle because I don't have a finance background. I was an occupational therapist beforehand. Now I talk about money. But I think that's such an advantage to like not come from that background where you have all like the acronyms and the words that people have no idea what they're saying.
There's a communication advantage of being in touch with the punter because you are one. But then there's the danger of speaking confident. Like people want hard and fast concrete things to hold on to about stuff. And they will gravitate towards people who are like that. And that's the online political world. And all you need to see it in its fully formed state is the US. You know, you look at US political commentary, there's just people firing strong opinions with no backing.
Yeah, and it's so black and white. There's no nuance with it.
Nothing.
Yeah, this is bad, this is good.
Yeah, so I'm trying to go, okay, I understand you want me to simplify it because that professor on that boring podcast is boring and he's complex and it's out of your pay grade and it's above mine. So I can listen to that stuff. I do listen to that stuff and I go, okay, what's relevant? What's important? Let's dumb it down. But I'm always trying to go, here's where I'm getting my info from. Every reel, I'm always throwing up my citations. So if you go, oh, that's wrong, I'm like, okay, well, you know where I got it from. Tell me why. And then I'll know that that study that was done missed this key element that probably makes it less relevant. You know, so I'm trying to add to the political discourse by bringing people, make them be attracted to the more concrete things so we can have a proper discussion around solutions rather than these ideological battles that lead nowhere. That politics pushes people into these camps of ideology and sporting teams. And then we're fighting over things that don't matter, that aren't changing people's lives. And we're wasting all our energy on that rather than solving the bare minimum things that most Australians agree with. Like we're actually in agreement on a whole lot of stuff, but politics feeds us this 1% of issues that changes nothing for the entire system that's broken.
Yes, so much distraction as well. Like, let's not stand in front of an Indigenous flag, some people might say. Crazy, because it doesn't make any difference. Yeah.
Anything you see a politician on the trail talking about, wearing high vis, whatever, every policy that Albo and Dutton are talking about right now is a waste of time distraction because neither of them are offering solutions that will fix the biggest problems that we Aussie punters have.
What are the biggest problems?
Housing, for a start. Like every mate of mine, like I was talking to a couple last night after one of my shows and they're like, no, we're doing well. My girlfriend's doing well. I'm doing well. We've got a tiny plot of land, 45 minutes, like a house, 45 minutes out of Melbourne, and we needed our parents' help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
They're the lucky ones. So imagine someone who's single. The system is fundamentally broken. These little tinkerings, we're going to like pay for infrastructure so you can live further out. And we're like, we're going to let you access your super. All right, cool. Has it worked yet? No.
Will house prices just go up? Yes.
Yeah. Because there's a group of people that want it to. And those group of people are in Canberra right now talking to the politicians, making sure that they keep the system the same.
Who are these people?
They'd be lobbyists. They'd be...
What's a lobbyist? People who don't know.
A lobbyist is someone who is paid by an industry and organization to shill on behalf of them. So they just get more access to politicians than we... I'm a lobbyist now.
Yeah.
I have a lobbyist pass.
Do you?
Yes. I saw.
Do you know how you get them?
How?
Politicians can give them to anyone they want.
Really?
Yes. So if we get complex, there's lobbyists, which have to be registered as a lobbying organization, and companies pay that organization to say, we want you to push for this bill that will make us richer, that will make our business better. And sometimes you need that because, businesses need to let government know what helps and doesn't help. And then you've got people that work directly for organizations, gambling companies, mining companies, cigarette companies, that lobby on behalf of those specific companies. But because the company employs them, they're not registered lobbyists. They're not on a list. We don't know who they are. And politicians can just go, yep, you can have a pass. You can have a pass. And a politician gave me a pass.
So who'd you get your pass from?
Or is it top secret?
Well, people can work it out, but I don't tell people because I'm like, you don't have to. That's the point.
Yeah, right.
The point is, who gave Santos their pass? Who gave Marlboro their pass? Who gave Sportsbet their pass? You walking around Canberra, they're there. They're wandering around. They make sure. Why has Albo, after his own bloody government, wrote a bill to ban gambling advertisement, which everyone agrees with? Like, we don't want kids watching it. I was at school and kids were like, oh, I put 50 on Queensland to win State of Origin. And I'm like, cool, man. Like, all right, are we happy with this? Like, we know gambling, domestic violence, like all of that sort of stuff. It's an easy win. But why hasn't it happened? Lobbyists, money, interests.
So what would you change there when it comes to lobbyists? Like, I feel like there's the whole spectrum of things that we could change within the government as individuals. Like, what are some of the things that you look at holistically and you're like, these are the things I would love to see change?
Yeah. I mean, there's like idealistic ones which get less practical and someone else has to work out the details, which is like, how about you bloody get rid of lobbyists?
Yeah.
How about you just get rid of it? How about you get rid of fundraising dinners where both our major politicians and political parties have $15,000 a head dinners that clearly only massive mining organizations can afford, and all these corporations, you don't get to attend those. Well, or maybe you could if you have 15 grand, but I spent $4,000 on a ticket to go to this gas lobbying event. They wouldn't let me in.
Really? And you paid?
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen it pop up, but I didn't realize that you paid.
Yeah. I just bought a ticket.
That feels like a scam.
And they wouldn't let you in.
They wouldn't let me in.
Did you get a refund?
Yeah, they gave me a refund.
Brutal though.
I got there, they knew who I was, and they went, sorry, mate, you're not coming in. And they called the cops on me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All because you just wanted to attend a dinner?
Literally because I wanted to see Dutton schmooze, and not just Dutton, but our resource minister, Madeleine King, absolutely kissed the ass of the gas industry, which is obviously giving our gas away for free, blah, blah, blah. So like you can start there with getting rid of that. But I mean, the easiest win, once again, like easy wins that governments could do but won't, is how about you let me know who you gave passes to?
Yeah.
How about you either stop letting politicians hand out lobbying pass, have a transparent process by which you can, because people need to be able to access Parliament House, different groups and interests and all those things. Environmental groups lobby as well. Everyone convinces government to do something that benefits them. But it's not a level playing field.
Why is it not just like, it really frustrates me when it's just not evidence-based. Like it's so much of like, we're going to do this, but there's nothing to back it up. And like, how do we get to a point where we can have a government that is somewhat evidence-based? Is that even a possibility, do you think?
It all depends. Like, this is why I keep focusing all the way to the top, which is the reason why we don't listen to experts and evidence is because there's someone in the room that doesn't want that change because it costs them money. Because we're told that these companies are rich because they're just innovators and hard work and job creators and get out of the way government. No, you lobby the government to make a special set of rules that makes you rich. That's why you're a billionaire, not because you innovated, not because you did anything, you worked harder than anybody else. No. You saw the best ROI was to hire a lobbying firm to get ex-politicians.
Yes.
Into your organization, ex-staffers. There's a conversation article about that shows how many ex-staffers, how many ex-politicians go to work in these industries.
Wasn't one of the resource ministers went and worked for a mining company?
All of them since 2006, 7 or 8 or something like that.
Surely they should have some kind of non-competes of like, you can't work in that
100%.
industry.
So
that seems common sense.
But who's going to put it in place, right? Like if we don't vote, if we don't get involved, if we don't get educated, none of these things will change, right? In the same way that often Tash and I get comments like, stay out of politics, stick to money. But all of this is related. Do you ever, you know?
Well, I'm in
what
politics.
Are your thoughts?
No one's
what
telling,
are your thoughts?
no one's
Get
telling
out
me
of
to stay out
politics,
of
stick
politics.
to money.
But before that though, were people like, oh, why are you talking about politics?
No, not really,
They just
because I guess I just came on the scene talking about
perfect.
politics. So everyone went, because it is interesting when people follow you for something. So they follow you for finance. And this is why it's an interesting, obviously I would be in the corner of you have to talk about politics because finance, this is all good. learn to work within the system we're working within. I have no gripes with my mates that work in the mines, working for these coal companies, these gas companies. I put the massive billboard up in Perth, opposite Woodside.
Oh, yeah.
And
Amazing.
more than one Woodside employee walks past, like, yeah, g'day, mate. And they're covering their little Woodside polo, Brad. And I'm like, oh, mate, what do you do? He's like, oh, man, I'm an engineer. I keep gas in pipes. That's what he does. And no shade on that guy. I'm like, at least you're getting a paycheck, mate. Like, I just want my dividend. Where's my gas dividend? And we'd all get a gas dividend, even if you're working for them or not. So no shade on people that operate within the system, use the tax settings as they have been used. But then I think when we have a broader discussion on like, this system is cooked and it's stacked towards certain people, yeah, sure, use the rules as they exist, but I will vote against even my own self-interest if I find myself benefiting more than the everyday Aussie punter.
Yeah.
Because I think, we want to work towards rules that are equitable. So my only problem is with people that actively know that the system is rigged and they're the ones benefiting, and then they vote to keeping that system the same.
Yeah.
That's where I have a problem.
I would love to get 20 grand of tax-free lunches. Like, I would love to tax stuff out, but I'm not going to vote for Liberals. Like, as much as I would enjoy those policies,
So it would work for you. That's right. So you go, and I kind of want to bring people from voting. If someone voted Liberal for that reason, because their business, they go, that's great, that's a tangible thing that I would get. I kind of wouldn't even fault them on that because at least they're voting for a policy. At least they're voting for something that benefits them. Whereas a lot of people just vote against their own best interest.
Yeah, well, there's just so much misinformation and lies, and it's hard to know.
Yes. And so people often don't vote on policy. They're not looking. I met a Liberal voter last night. He's like, oh, I'm a Liberal voter. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what policies? He's like, oh,
I just don't like Labor. I just hate Albo.
Yeah, he was like, oh,
I want people to not work from home.
I don't hate Labor, but as people might say.
No, but people, it's on tape now. So yeah, I think he was just like, no, like I'm from the country, Liberal Nationals. Like I met the guy, seemed like a nice bloke, but he didn't have policy. And so I'm just going, you can vote for whoever you want. I actually don't care because we might be in different settings. You might benefit more from a Liberal government.
But I think you have to look along bigger picture as well, because there's these policies where it's great if you can tax deduct your lunch is awesome. But if we're going to have tougher bail laws and there's going to be an increase in crime and people in prison, things are going to be more expensive if we zoom out slightly. So instead of being I want lunches, actually be no, things might get more expensive.
Yeah. So for me, it's people who vote unthinkingly, you're probably hurting yourself directly, measurably. So just make sure that let's first vote for your own best interest. Then potentially have a conversation about, well, what about my kids? Because people who want high house prices, I was talking to all these independents that took Liberal seats. They're in rich suburbs. And everyone's like, oh, well, they voted with Liberals on this many. And I'm like, well, of course they did. They're an ex-Liberal seat. That independent is representing an ex-Liberal seat. So they're going to be different from me, who let's say they don't want to tax super. I want to tax super. Why should my parents who have finished accumulating their wealth pay half the tax that I do when I need this money now to buy a house, family, and start a business? I'm a wealth creator now. Why am I paying double the tax they are when they've finished? And they need way less money than I do at this stage of my life. Anyone does. And
it needs to come from somewhere as well. I think we look at things in such isolation where it's this is a great idea or that's a shitty idea. But then we're not oh, well, how does that fit into the giant picture of everything?
Yeah. And ultimately, I think when we keep zooming up, which is what I'm trying to do, is simplify politics. If you have to pay attention to politics for a little bit, let's just go to the very tippy top. And I bring out my parents there. I'm like, oh, discrepancies in tax. Let's even skip that because that's a divide. We're still on the same team. Corporate bludgers coming into our country, paying bugger all tax, leaving. The ATO does deals with Chris Ellison. I don't know if you know this bloke, still CEO or soon to be not CEO of Minres. He was caught defrauding or whatever, scamming over his shareholders because he had another company offshore that he was renting his own company for. That's how they shift money out of the country. They get loans from other companies that operate in the Caymans.
Deals or something.
And they whittle away their profits. Yeah. IP, whatever. They whittle away their profits. So then their profit income in Australia is zero and all their profits end up in the Caymans. So he was doing this sort of shenanigans, didn't pay tax in Australia for whatever, goes to the ATO. ATO's like, oh, all right, just pay us X amount. When was the last time the ATO came to you and went, oh, you missed about 20 grand?
Yeah.
Give us $100 and we'll call it.
To be fair, I did ask them for a refund of late fees and they did give it to me. I played the whole like, oh no, I didn't realize. I'm so
But is it
sorry.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Is it billions of dollars?
But I still had to pay my tax bill. I didn't get let off my tax bill. Yeah.
But imagine what would happen if you were caught evading taxes.
No, yeah, I would get fined heaps and I would have to
You
pay
kept
it back
doing it.
eventually.
You'd be in jail.
You'd be in jail. Yeah.
Whereas this bloke, we're talking millions. He gets a deal. They do a deal.
So how do they get away with it? Like what can the average, person who watches your content, they're like, I'm mad. We've got all this natural resources that we're selling off. I see nothing of it. I'm upset, but I don't know what to do about it. What does the average person do?
Pay attention to politics for at least 3 weeks every 3 years. So 1 week a year.
Is it right now? So
It's
now.
right bloody now. And put in politicians that are not taking money from these people. Put in politicians.
And how do you find out? How do you know?
You can see the donation lists. Articles will publish who's funding who. You can see that all you really need to know is both major parties are taking money from the same people. That's why major structures do not change because they're betting on both horses. And you can see and then vote for politicians that haven't come from the mining sector, that aren't going into the mining sector, generally not attached to this corporate swamp that has just created. The more politicians you put in like that, then you're more likely to get a rule change. Because I would be saying you want to push for rule changes that are stop taking money from corporate donations should be banned like completely. But that's actually not the biggest problem. The biggest problem potentially is the revolving door between industry and politics. So the politician goes out Josh Frydenberg, where'd he end up? Goldman Sachs. Mark McGowan, where'd he end up? BHP. Julie Bishop.
Is he at BHP? I had no idea. Wow. Trader.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. And the ex-treasurer, I think, also one of these mining companies, Northern Territory, one of the deputy chief minister, Nicole Madison or something, where'd she end up? Inpex. How much tax does Inpex pay? 0. How much gas do they get for free? All of it. It's a Japanese cartel. Right, and the list can go on forever.
I'm shocked at Mark McGowan.
Yeah, yeah. See, the WA people, WA need to wake the F up.
Yeah.
Because you guys are you're a petro state being just ripped completely by your
Tash is in shock. Tash is in ultimate shock.
I didn't pay attention to politics too much until COVID when
and he seems like a nice bloke, doesn't he?
Everyone's nice. Everyone's nice.
He goes to work at
family
BHP.
guy. He's like, I'm just taking a break. I was a bit tired after COVID.
Yeah, you know how many
Not taking a
jobs he
break.
took? Lobbying jobs? 5.
What? I'm going to have to go on. I'm going to have to Google
politics
after
is
this.
so hard.
Yeah.
5. Because do you think he got it because he's like just so good at his job that he can just help these companies?
No,
Or do you think he got it because he was the head of the government and all those companies want all his connections to everyone who's currently in government?
Mm-hmm.
So let's begin with getting rid of that. Let's ban it completely. Let's pay politicians a good amount of money, which they're pretty close to getting now, and say, how about
No conflict of interest.
you don't go work. We need non-competes. You don't go teach. Go just be a regular bloody person. I'll pay you a pension of $100,000 a year to just don't do that.
Or just go work somewhere else. Different.
Literally do
no
something
management,
else.
no
Just
decision
don't work.
making.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't get me started on ScoMo.
What's he up to?
ScoMo signs AUKUS deal, goes works for Dine Maritime, which is some other. You go to the website. It's this generic 10-minute website that's like, we do innovation. Anyway,
We do innovation.
they're a heavy investor in, guess what? Submarines.
No.
Weapons.
Oh,
Weapons. Man.
surprise.
He's essentially some kind of weapons lobbyist of some kind or invested in it or something. So he sets up the deal. He signs the dumbest deal in Australian history for submarines we're never going to get. You think Trump's going to give us anything? No. And we've already paid heaps of money for it. But now him and a few other politicians, I can't remember which ones, but he's given himself a future massive paying job. He's working with another, Mike Pompeo or someone, I don't know, another US politician that left politics to go work in weapons. So
It just feels pointless.
So going back to because it's overwhelming, right? Like
Yeah,
It's like, how do I stop Scott Morrison getting a job with submarines? Like, it's like, how can we do that?
voting is the first thing. So it's important to go out and vote and make sure that people are voting for your best interest, not their own best interest. What next? So I go and vote, and then I wait another 3 years. Like, well, is that it? Like,
well, I'm trying to create.
We're asking you hard questions. We're sorry.
Because there is no perfect answer. I'm trying to both hold the realism.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can do individually. Whereas being fed, individually, what can you do?
nothing.
Much. No. Not much. But together, we can do a lot, which is what is kind of happening with Punters Politics as a platform. Together, we've got a bunch of people raised a bunch of money, and in the consciousness of Australia now, right? So in 2006 or 7, Rudd tried to put in a super profits mining tax. The propaganda machine. So this is what they're really afraid of. The propaganda machine from the mining companies, Rupert Murdoch, making everyone attacking the government until we vote them out. So that's what Albo is afraid of now. So he won't touch mining royalties because he's afraid of that machine turning on him. And so what I've tried to do is put in the consciousness of everyday Aussies, which the corporate media will ignore, we're giving our gas away for free. It's your gas. We could be as rich as Norway, which is very rich, very, very rich. So rich, if we wanted to, we could not pay tax. That's how rich our country is. But you know who's rich instead? Gina Reinhart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Clive Palmer. These guys are making money off your royalties, right? They're not that much smarter than you. They're not billions of dollars smarter than you, and they don't work billions of dollars harder than you. They just somehow got access to our resources, ship it overseas, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I think you're answering the second point, which is the first one is vote. The second one is educate yourself, right? Like it's educate yourself, follow independent content creators, journalists. Like that's essentially what a lot of what you're doing is, because you have legacy media that is also a part of the information machine that has money behind it. That's all connected to politics.
Yeah.
So you're maybe getting information from news outlets that are not in your best interest. And that's why it's important to get information from multiple sources so that you can make better decisions.
I love that you just raise money for billboards.
Yeah.
Like I love that when people just go and do the thing and they're not like, I'm going to sit here and be like, oh, I feel really bad about the world. I don't know what to do. Like you just did it.
So maybe just give us context for anyone who hasn't.
Sorry.
Well, I just had this, I got the podcast, I'm like, I need just some kind of gimmick. Like everyone is clearly outraged about giving our gas away for free. This has real traction. Politicians still not touching it, right? A few independent politicians are. Here's the shorthand for which politicians you should vote for. If a politician is saying we need more gas, that's a gas lobby talking point.
What about nuclear?
Same thing. Does that results in we need more gas because we're not going to have nuclear for like forever.
They say 10 years, but more.
Yeah, definitely more. Well, what's the last thing government did quite quickly?
Well, we're still waiting for our train line. That's still 10 years away to the airport.
Skybus.
Yeah.
What a scam. Scam bus.
Scam bus. Yeah.
Not endorsed by Skybus. So yeah, you've got that element to it. The big scam with that and words kind of getting out about how brutal that reality is. So I was like, all right, let's just put up some billboards. And I thought I'd raise, $5,000 for one billboard. And then in the end I raised like 30 grand. I'm like, man, we can get like two, but like one big one or like, whatever. And then I posted that and then it just got to $90,000.
Crazy.
And so I had 17 billboards across the country in like every state, one near Santos's gas plant in Gladstone and just a few things kind of to continue getting traction and work out there. And so I think people care about the important stuff. Like people will tell you that Aussies don't care about politics. They don't care about the bullshit we're told is politics. We don't care about what politicians are saying to us in their little dumb press conferences.
Like culture wars,
We don't care about we don't care about that. But as soon as you start talking about gas royalties, which would make us as rich as Qatar as citizens, that's a game changer. Because we don't have to fight each other anymore about who gets the tiny little surplus. We can actually solve all of our problems if access to money is one of them. So that's what I was saying. If you want to know who to vote for, there are politicians saying we have a gas export problem. We're exporting all of our gas for free and driving up our own energy costs when it's our gas.
Are we exporting it for free?
Yeah. They get 56% of their gas for free. So imagine if 56% of your input costs for your business were free.
That'd be fun.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that's wild.
Chevron.
The numbers are wild. When you see the graphs, the numbers are wild.
Yes.
So anyone who's like listening, who's like, I can't visualize this, go and look at the graphs. Like it just.
We exported more gas than Qatar in 1 year, right? More gas than Qatar. They made 76 billion. We made 2 billion.
Crazy.
With double
That's one of your most viral videos that you did. That's
a good one to start on.
Yeah,
so start there.
Start on that.
Get angry and go vote.
Yeah. And the other thing is like back to what can people do? We have to realize it's big. We have to do it together. And it's going to take time. And it's going to take like a tiny bit of awareness, paying attention to the right things.
Yeah, and not turning each other against. Like I find that really crazy. I went to it was kind of like a climate change thing, but they were sharing the stats of what people thought about renewables, and most people were for renewables. But if you had listen to the news, you're like, all these people hate wind and they hate solar, but realizing that's actually a lie and they're just pitting us against each other was pretty wild.
With these fringe issues.
And getting distracted by things that are not as relevant and not as impactful as.
Yeah, being like farmers don't want wind turbines. I found that was a lie. Farmers want them.
This farmer who we found all made up and fabricated.
Yeah, this farmer didn't get a turbine anymore because you changed the plan. That was one of the ones I heard. This guy was really angry because he didn't get his 2 wind turbines and he was going to get paid 80 grand a year for these 2. They changed their mind, put them somewhere else. And of course he was against it because they were like, well, they're just giving it to their friends. But the media was like, these farmers hate wind turbines.
There you go.
Yeah, that was a big like, oh wow moment for me.
Yeah, it's an interesting, that whole renewable world has been turned into a toxic sludge debate.
Which is just insane. How is it a bad thing? It's just like a wild thing to wrap your head around when it's like we're arguing against like coal and gas versus wind.
Yeah. People
Crazy.
are not, because there's things that happen with corporate media. They can tell us kind of wrong emphasis on facts, but they can control the conversation about what we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I've sort of deliberately done is I've avoided that whole thing because that's super tribal, super controversial. Murdoch has poisoned the well of that debate. People are either pro-renewable or anti-renewable. But I tell you what unites all of them. Give us money for our bloody gas.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
and
way to unify the country, right? Like it's definitely a speaking point where if you know, because a lot of people don't even realize that all this gas is being exported and you're getting none of the like proceeds of it, right? So the first thing is actually that education piece. And then it's like, taking the steps towards it.
I went to the Qatar Museum like a month ago or something and I was surprised at how quickly they like made so much money because they were a pearl industry beforehand and then they ran out of pearls and then all of a sudden they discovered oil and gas
they
did it in like 30 years or something, which is just crazy when you
can
think
just
about
turn a country around so quickly.
If people just make the right decisions.
And we just essentially same thing, but it can get as complex as you want. Yes, the US government will lobby and pressure and the Japanese government will pressure our government to give them the gas for free. Japan is taking our gas and exporting it as their gas and making heaps of money.
But where else are you going to get gas from if you say no, okay, let's make a better deal.
Yeah. Yeah. They will say, oh, we'll leave.
Okay, cool.
I say, F off.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
And then we've got gas for the next
and then we've got enough gas for us.
Yeah.
And then we'll have renewables in 20 years. We'll be all good.
And if someone wants to make money and pay us to export it, then pay us to export it. Yeah, there's a lot of, I haven't released the video on YouTube yet, but there's like a LinkedIn gas exec having a go at me for like, he said Santos didn't pay tax. Look at how much taxes they paid. Anyway, I went through it. He was saying, hey, look how many taxes they paid. He confused both taxes and royalties, made them one thing. They're both separate things. Pay us royalties and then pay taxes like everybody else. And then it said taxes paid, but it was also from a document where it's taxes paid. No. Here in Australia? No, that was like in other countries as well.
Oh, okay, good time.
So I'm like, do you think I care how many taxes they paid in the Caymans or wherever they're doing whatever? No, I don't. Pay us because you made the money out of us.
Yeah. I feel like we could go on and on about this stuff. There's so many fun things. Yeah. But 3 things that you would do if you could be Prime Minister tomorrow.
3 things I would do. I would ban any politician working in an industry they made the rules for. Any lobbying. No politician can ever go into lobbying, can ever go become an executive of some thing they regulated. So I'd ban that. Completely. Just gone, done.
Yep. Number 1.
Finding a new career.
I would
make them be teachers. That'd be funny.
Yeah, make them, humble their
You're
ass.
a politics teacher now.
Yeah, you can go teach at a university maybe.
No, high school.
Okay, high school. That'll break him.
Yeah.
And then I would just charge for our royalties. I would half government own our resources, half investment. Just like I would just copy Norway. What did Norway do with their oil? Let's do it with our gas. Let's do it with our coal. Let's do it with our whatever. And any company that wants to operate in this country is going to pay up to 78% royalties and taxes on the stuff that they do. And then I'd just invest in Australia. I'd invest in education. I'd invest in infrastructure. I'd invest in railways. I'd invest in
an airport train.
I would bankrupt Skybus on day 1 in office.
Yeah. I would like that.
You should not exist.
No, you should not.
Anyway, yep.
And will you run for politics?
Never.
Why?
Because I don't want to be told what to do by anyone. I think it's just a brutal job and it's boring. I was watching Question Time with like Albo for like 15 minutes and I was just glazed.
When they read off their talking points.
Oh, and they work hard. Like I've been to Canberra and I see like the one thing I'll give politicians props for is they're working hard. Like
they work a lot.
When I met Jim Chalmers, when I met Albo, I'm like, these blokes haven't seen daylight for about 17 years.
And they're like running around having 2-minute meetings everywhere. Like it looks crazy.
And all the independent politicians I met, like they're working hard, like very hard, and they're smarter than I am, and they've got their teams of people. Everyone's working hard. I get that. We just need to fix the system around it. And I am far better suited to getting everyday Aussie punters to pay attention to what's important, and you only pay enough attention as you need to. You don't have to become a political nerd. I don't think you have to. I think you can do what you can and move on with your life. That's it. That's all. So I'm trying to just make it easy and accessible so that once every 3 years you pop up, you vote in a way that will benefit. It will help. You won't feel the immediate impacts. It will take a long time to solve. If this housing crisis is solved, you're screwed. Regardless, this is my grim take. We're done.
Yeah.
If housing is ever fixed, it's not for us. And if it is fixed, we will lose the values on the other end because if we're lucky enough to get in, if it's fixed, we will be the ones holding the bag. Boomers long gone, wealth well made. But it will be for the next generation. So I think having that kind of long term in mind, doing what you can, don't get too discouraged, just show up consistently and do the tiny little bit you can. If you are a nerd, you want to get into it and be like more informed about specific issues, great. Because punters that share my stuff, that's the reason these messages are getting out there. Corporate media ignores me completely. But because punters just share and they're like, did you know, telling their friends, talking about the important issues, we're shifting the narrative that normally Rupert Murdoch controls. He controls what we talk about, which is huge because we're talking about things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Whereas now, because of people sharing on Instagram, more people are talking about actual massive issues that could, if we taxed our gas and resources, it would change Australian way of life forever.
It's very telling how terrified they are of us as well and how much they're hating on influencers in Parliament.
It's a power shift. Like the media hate it because they know their days are numbered, right? It's all shifting completely, and so any attack I think is good. You're on the right track.
It's amazing that you've started a movement where people are now commenting your Instagram username in other people's videos, being like, Punters Politics said this, and did you know Punters said this? And it's like fun to see the ripple effect of that happen.
Yeah, when I was like on every Peter Dutton post, and especially if he talks about gas, there's more than one punter in there being like, how about you just tax our gas royalties?
Yeah.
And just keep hammering it. Because eventually a politician will be brave enough to talk about it. There's a few independents in there that are actually talking about that issue. And millennials are now the largest voting bloc. So it's time that we start getting what we want. Because if politicians don't listen to us, our democracy, people who go, there's no point, blah, blah, our democracy is functional enough.
Preferential voting. Like that is like one of my favorite things about Australia.
Yeah.
How amazing.
It is a game changer.
It really makes a difference here. So I think it's cool.
We can vote for who we want. And political parties can see their power slipping. And so don't look at, the Lib Lab coalition that's going on now and think that's set in stone. Because already in like 15 years, Labor got the lowest primary vote in history. Liberals are dropping off the map because their voter base, the boomers, are dying off. And now millennials and Gen Z, and they've ignored us for so long. There will be a tipping point where they go, you guys are the power base. What do you want? And we just have to be asking for the right things.
I love that.
That's a great place.
Follow Punters Politics and hope for the best.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
No worries.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invests or me at Anna Christina.
This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorised representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Perla, who is an authorised representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info.